Oh, Mrs. Diesel, how you doing? Tell me what's going on. Good evening. Welcome to KJ Live. I'm Chris Johnson. Today's guest on the show, a longtime friend of mine from way back when. He starred at Loyola High School in the city of Los Angeles. Went on and made the all Big Ten freshman team out at Penn State. Transferred to UCLA, had the opportunity to be on the team with me and his brother Toby Bailey as a senior. Now he's the head coach at Brentwood High School. He's a CIF champion, and in 2018, he was named Division II State Coach of the Year by Cal High Sports. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great honor and great pleasure to welcome Ryan Moose Bailey to the show. Let me get Moose up in here, y'all. Hold on, where's Moose? Moose should have been here. There he is. We're going to request Moose and get him in here. Hope you guys are having a good day. We had a great show today so far. Coach Ben Howland checked in earlier. I don't know if you saw it, but he gave us a scouting report for the University of Alabama. Very detailed, very intricate. Oh, there he goes. Look, look at him. How you doing, Ryan?
What's up, man?
I'm gonna call you Ryan tonight.
Please.
No, I'm kidding. What's up, Moose?
What's up, bro?
I'm chilling, man. You looking great.
I'm happy.
Who tightened you up?
I'm happy. My barber Bill, man. He will.
Can you go to the side so I can see what's the action?
He'll always tight.
Ooh, geez. You got the Murrays in there today, or
No,
no?
it's a nice little clear ice look.
Oh man, hey Moose, I'm so happy to finally have you on the show. Just so everyone knows, Moose was one of the first people I asked, and he consistently turned me down. I was unclear why he turned me down. I would bother him and bother him. Hold on, let me close this window.
Yeah.
Damn blinds. I would bother him, but yet he turned me down. Then finally, I think because of all the pressure by the public,
Yeah.
The people wanted to see it. Moose, let's start at the beginning.
Okay.
The neighborhood where you were born and raised. Please let the people know.
So I was born and raised off of Crenshaw and Adams, basically. So Virginia Road and Adams. And I spent till I was 7 or 8 years old there. And then we moved to Ladera after that. But the formative years, a lot of the early times, spent at Jim Gilliam Park, Pan Pacific Park, Rancho Cienega, just playing hoops. And then we moved to Ladera, and we've been there kind of ever since in the Ladera kind of Inglewood area.
For our audience that doesn't know, what is your dad's name?
My dad, that's Papa John Bailey, man.
Papa John Bailey. And what is your mother's name?
The OG is what I call him, the OG.
Oh, yes, OG John Bailey. What's your mom's name?
My mom is Taffy Bailey.
Taffy Bailey. And what does your father do for a living?
Well, my father was worked in the Department of Corrections for 30 plus years, from juvenile all the way up to an administrator for the state of California.
Wow.
For 30 plus years. He's retired now and picked up golfing. So
and
doing now.
And what did mom do?
Mom was a librarian at Jefferson High School. Oh. So she worked in the Inglewood Library for a couple years when we were young, and then she was a librarian at Jefferson High School for 30 years.
Well, my grandmother, Basha Johnson, my dad's mom, was a librarian as well at LA High, and then for the district. She was like the major.
Well, that's where my parents went to school, LA High.
Yeah.
Both of them.
Really? Then she probably knows my grandmother. Well, I'm not sure if they were there at the same time, but that's interesting. And you'll find that a lot in LA. We all have these deep sort of ties and bonds. When you start really pulling back the layers, peeling back the onion, you start to get to beneath the surface.
There's really a 6 degrees of separation kind of deal.
And your siblings, how many siblings do you have?
One sibling.
Okay.
Jumping John Garfield Bailey.
All right.
My big bro Toby, man. So that's my dude.
What I kind of want to know what it was like growing up with an older brother, just you two, and being involved in athletics.
That's kind of where the nickname Moose kind of formed from. Um, the backstory with that. Uh, so my brother's 20 months older than me. My father put us in every single sport and coached us in every sport. So baseball, when it was baseball season, basketball when it was basketball season, football. And I was on a football team. My brother would play in, I say, the 4 to 6 age year. No, he was probably 6 to 8. He was
Okay.
probably playing in the 6 to 8-year-old age group, and I was 4. And my father would just throw me on the team. Flags running across the ground. I don't know what's going on. I'm running to try to play in the sandbox. But my dad gave me the name Moose to kind of make me feel bigger than what I really was at the time.
Yeah.
Because I was little out there.
Yeah.
The name's kind of stuck. It's stuck ever since then. It was like 4 or 5 years old when he gave it to me.
Yeah. It's one of the greatest nicknames of in history. It's very well known around the world. Moose Bailey. There's only one. When did you decide to do basketball full time? At what age?
That's it. I decided to do basketball full time my second year of law school. So it's my second year of law school. I was working for one of my mentors, a guy named Winston McKesson,
Mm-hmm.
prominent criminal defense attorney.
Yeah.
Worked on a lot of Rampart case. Um, was worked with Johnny Cochran a lot, but this guy has his own law firm. But I was 2L working with him, and during that time, I happened to call Coach Lav.
Hmm.
I called Coach Lav randomly right before the summer started, and just to check in with him.
Sure.
He was taking a team to France, a USA team.
Got it.
Uh, a week before, 2 weeks before they were about to go, John Lucas decided he couldn't go. Something came up, another obligation. He couldn't go. Kevin Eastman was the other coach. Coach Lav, on that phone call, he must have just found out that Coach Lucas couldn't make the trip. He was like, Moose, do you want to go? I mean, it's right place, right time. I get to go to France for 2 or 3 weeks.
Nice. What
And
part?
coach guys like AJ Guyton and Greg Paulus and
Oh, wow.
Brian Zubek and John Brockman and
Wow.
Malik Harrison. And I mean,
Nice.
heck of a group.
Some ball
So I was
players.
out there, and then, the passion just came back for basketball. I was going to law school because I wanted to be an agent and be on that side of the game, but
Sure.
I just got hit with the bug. So after I finished law school, I started working with Jamal Adams. I
Yeah.
called Jamal Adams. I known him my whole life.
No, Moose, we're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to
Okay.
Jamal. We're gonna get to Jamal. We're gonna get to Loyola. I wanna stay on, and it's funny that you mentioned the Lav story in as far as your playing, and thank you
Yeah.
for going over that. I was more referring to because I know you were a good baseball player growing up, and I know you were pretty good in
Better at
football too.
football.
You're pretty good in football, and that
Yeah.
was kind of what I was going with. It was more so like when you were coming up in the little leagues. Like,
Yes.
when did you decide that you wanted to hoop
It
instead
was
of
it was it
football?
was 8th grade.
Okay.
8th grade. After 8th grade, going into Loyola, I just decided, with a little help from my father too. My father played football, and he's gone through maybe 9, 10 knee surgeries.
Wow.
And I didn't want to have that life.
Yeah.
So I just decided to find hoop and plug in the hoop full time when I was right at the end of 8th grade, because I played Pop Warner football up until
Who'd you
eighth
play
grade.
for? Who'd you play for?
I played for the Culver City Lancers.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so it was fun, man. I love playing football. I love contact, and I think that kind of lended itself to my basketball game too, because I love to
Oh
put my shoulders on people.
yeah. You're a hack. You were a
Space,
serious hack.
space in the paint. Yeah.
Yeah. You're a serious hack. Yes, you were. No doubt about that. Moose, eighth grade. Okay. Toby's in the ninth or 10th.
Toby's in the ninth.
Okay. Toby's in the ninth. So he's a freshman at Loyola. We're in the
Yeah.
air cast, and you're at where are you? What school are you at?
Cathedral Chapel School. So right on 8th and Cochran.
Oh, okay. So you're over there at Cathedral Chapel. Now, the next year, you attend Loyola. You get to
Yes.
play with your brother.
Yes.
Talk about the Loyola basketball experience playing with Toby, and there's some other guys you play with as well, and just how it was, that experience, hooping with your bro.
It was cool, man. My first year there, I think my brother was the first guy ever at Loyola High School to play varsity as a freshman.
Mm.
Ever. And that
Yeah.
was one of the things when you talk to the coach even before you get there, it's just that no freshmen play varsity. It's kind of like the old school,
Yeah.
Where the freshmen coming into UCLA, you had to play on the freshman
Yeah,
team.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so when I got to Loyola, I think I was probably good enough to play on the varsity team, but he
Mm-hmm.
on the JV my freshman year. So I played JV my freshman year,
Wow.
and I think it ended up helping me, man. I grew from that, gained a lot of confidence, a lot
Because
of
of reps, because you had the reps.
reps. And then by the time the next year rolled around, I was ready to roll as a sophomore. And it was unbelievable playing with my brother. It was a great experience. Even we're tight. We used to argue a lot back then because I used to feed him a lot, man. But this guy used to always get on me about not passing him the ball enough, like somebody else in this conversation.
Right. It was the normal thing for you.
I like to share the sugar.
No, you don't, Moose. You put your head down, you put your shoulder down, and you blinders on, and Moose is just straight ahead.
I like to kind of get it to everybody. Can I get everybody to peel? But
Moose, did your light go off? Because your lighting just went off right here.
Yeah, it did.
Okay, I'll give you some time to turn it back on. We want you looking excellent, buddy. Thank you. This is KJ Live. I'm on with Ryan Moose Bailey, head coach at Brentwood School in Brentwood, California. CIF champions in 18 and 19, Moose?
Yes.
18 and 19.
17, 18.
17, 18, and the 2018 State Division II Coach of the Year. We're talking about his time at Loyola High School with his brother, Toby Bailey. Now, you guys played with Danny Farmer too, right?
Yes.
Talk about Danny Farmer, dude, because that dude is a legend.
Danny Farmer and his brother, Tim Farmer, we've known since we were little playing at Pan Pacific Park and growing up. So I've known those guys since I was 5, 6 years old.
Okay.
And they always been really good athletes. But Danny was just a stud at Loyola. He was our center on our basketball team. He was a wide receiver on the football team. He was the number one player on the volleyball team. I mean, he was talk about unbelievable athlete.
He was sick, dude.
And he did the same thing at UCLA. I mean, went to UCLA, ended up, I think when he left there, he was like the all-time receptions
leader.
He
made the league. He played the league, right? And then won a national championship in volleyball while he was there. So I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's killer.
So he's a guy, I mean, to play on a high school team with two people that end up making the UCLA Hall of Fame in athletics is pretty cool.
I would say so. Moose, you kind of have that type of existence with, just playing with certain players, being around certain guys, being in certain atmospheres. I call you one of the most connected men in all of basketball. But I want to stay on the AAU scene back then when we were in the 9th, 10th, 11th grade. Talk about some of the, the scenes, the Slam and Jam and the Orange County PTI and who you played with. Were you with Raj and Rock and Team Avia?
I played with them my last year.
Okay.
So I started out ARC with Rich Goldberg.
Who's on your team?
And that was Tracy Murray, Jelani Gardner.
Wait, how did you play with Tracy?
I mean, not Tracy, Cameron Murray. So
Cam
Murray.
Cam. Okay.
Cameron Murray, Damon Ali, Toby, Jelani Gardner, Alex Lopez, Lorenzo Analoha. Yeah, Dwayne Curtis.
Jeez.
We were stacked. I mean, we were stacked. We lost to the Nationals that year, 13 and under.
Who'd y'all lose to?
To what's my boy's name that ended up going to Louisiana or New Orleans? Richard.
Oh no.
He was dunking in. I mean, it was 8th grade. He was must be 6'7", 6'8". Drops dunking.
Yeah, one of those dudes.
I mean, really, really beastie.
Mustache, beard, hair on his chest. Yeah. Yes. I get it.
Guys, but it was beastie. Then I moved, but then after that we moved to Slam and Jam. Man, that's kind of when everything kind of exploded for me playing with Slam and Jam. I got to meet my brother, Jelani McCoy. So we started playing together when we were like 14U, and he would come up on weekends and stay with us and his auntie Peaches on weekends. Every weekend he would come up and we would play together. That's before BTI stole him away from us.
Yeah, good job, BTI.
BTI came in and got everybody. But just a great program they were. But Slam and Jam, that was Tommy Prince, me, Jelani. Cam came back and played with us. Cam Murray played with us.
Did you play in those young shorts, those real young shorts?
I did play young shorts. That's when we were Reebok when I first started Slam and Jam. And then we went to LA Gear and had on some catapults. And we was walking around with running shoes with light up bottoms way before
that was a nice look, though. That was a nice look.
Time, man.
The catapults with the light up bottoms and then the towel on the shoulder. Yes, that was a necessity. Wait, shout out Will Johnson. Will, I saw you sneaking in here. That's my son, y'all. Shout out Will. I saw you sneaking in here. But back to talking about our days in high school. Talk about just, again, LA City, Loyola, it's in Central City. It's in near downtown. So it's like it could have been a city school, right?
Venice and Normandy. So
yeah. So
right in the middle of the city.
But talk about the 92, 93 era of LA City and like surrounding areas basketball. How would you compare that era to, say, one of the other golden eras when Dominguez was number one in the country in the 2000s? I'd like to hear this.
I think that era, man, especially when you got to Crenshaw, those teams were just ridiculous. Then you have Fremont and watch Chris Ford and guys like that play, and
Fizz.
And Tank before he left to go to Crenshaw.
Ricky Brown,
Calvin Patterson,
Ricky Brown,
yeah. Then Manual Arts had Dwayne Bradbury, and what's the other guy's name?
Kevin Bill.
I remember one summer working out at with Coach Randolph over at Manual. I used to work out there a lot, and Mario Bennett. He was
Rio
transfer from Texas. Rio was going to transfer from Texas into Manual. And talk about sick.
Rio.
Talk about
Rio.
Oh my God. I mean, Rio was one of the coldest.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me with Mario Bennett and his run and the way he held his shoulders after he did something?
I mean, it was unbelievable.
The look, he would be so sick looking at you after he banged on you. He must have came through my freshman year at UCLA in like 28, 14, coast to coast thing. We see somebody, Jimmy says Washington Prep with Isaac and then Brandon Martin. No question about it.
Jason Martin came to that team, the Washington Prep team, after he left. Yes, man.
It was some hitters.
But I remember that's when the sports arena, when Westchester and Fremont.
That's when Gumby hit everybody up. After he reversed it, then he threw up the beat. He threw up the beat.
Mid-air, and it was just different. Gumby was different. So Gumby was one of the most special players you're gonna ever. I mean, I don't know. He woke up. He just was basketball. He was different. It didn't matter what time he was gonna give you whatever you wanted, whenever you wanted it. I don't care if he was in flip flops,
please,
or running shoes or basketballs. He was gonna give you buckets.
What about Harold?
Harold Miner,
please.
Ridiculous.
Talk about Harold.
So Harold Miner, I remember playing a lot with Harold Miner, especially up at LMU. I used to go up to LMU a lot and play with those guys, Chris Knight and Terrell Woolery and those cats up there. And Harold used to come in there and just turn it out. I never seen somebody 6'1", 6'2", catch rebounds.
Are you giving him 6'1", 6'2"?
I mean, Harold ain't more. He might be 6'3".
Wow. You're a real one for knowing that Harold Miner is like 6'2" and 3/4 and not what everybody thought. That's what the Baby Jordan thing was a little tough. He was shorter than Mike.
Well, he is 6'2", but grab a rebound. Please. And off verts, put it at his back.
Gorilla.
And come down off verts right underneath the basket. No steps at all.
Jeez.
That's 6'2". I mean, that's something you don't see. You don't see something like that.
Moose.
And then you had teams outside of that, guys around like Mike Batiste.
Oh.
Who would just cook you. And Fantasia Johnson.
Oh, remember how long Fantasia's arms were when he walked on the court? I mean, he's looking like he can scratch his knees without bending over.
Guys like even at North Hollywood when Fantasia was there. And
I had an issue with Damon Ollie. Because Damon Ollie and I had a similar kind of game. I heard he was a monster. I really never ran into him.
You did have a
at Montclair Prep, but everybody's like, "Yo, Damon Ollie, you don't want to see Damon Ollie." And then my junior year, they were in the Final Four. I think Dorsey might have beat him to go to the the championship. We ended up beating Dorsey.
And Davey Fortson and them dudes.
Dude, they had Terrell McIntyre, too.
Come on, ridiculous.
Are you kidding me?
Ridiculous.
Jamal Adams says Harold had a rocket. Jamal Adams says Harold had a rocket.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it.
The sports trainer fan, that was my guy.
Jamal Adams can put that thing on his back. That's kind of what made us really fall in love with Loyola High School, watching Jamal Adams and that team with Jamal Adams and Eric Jones, who was like a 6'4" point guard, and Wayne and Ryan Jameson.
Wait. Jamal Adams was banging out like that, Moose?
Oh, Jamal Adams, when he was there and in at Columbia, I mean, just vert. He was Harold Miner, but it was 6'5" though with him, and he's just straight vert bang outs.
Wow.
Ridiculous. Okay. I mean, he damn near played center in college at 6'5", so
y'all didn't tell me that.
Athleticism has to be ridiculous.
Y'all didn't tell me that. Y'all didn't
Yeah,
tell me
Jamal,
that.
but you know, J-Mo, right?
Hold on, Jamal said, "Stop it, Chris." I
Uh,
knew this. I knew this about Jamal. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Jay. My bad, man. I love you, man. Moose, let's stay on reminiscing
yep.
about those times. Let's talk about coaches back then. There's some
Yeah.
legendary guys around the city, from Reggie Morris to Randolph Simpson, Coach Willie West, and then in the CIF also. I mean, guys like Bob Tomlinson.
Bob Thomason,
Yes,
Bill
Bob.
Thomason.
Yes, Bill. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. I'm sorry, I messed up.
Bob
Butchered the.
Thomason, his son played with us. That's probably why you know that name.
Okay,
Thomason played with us. He was
okay,
on.
that's yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I'm thinking of. But there's a lot of great
Yeah.
coaches. Talk about the coaches and how they may have inspired you, and what you could have took from some of those coaches back in the day.
I think I was blessed to be around those dudes, man. My father, I really give all the thanks to my father for putting me in the middle of that stuff. I mean, he coached the club team, and he used to take us all over the city
Yeah,
to play against some of these kids. I mean, from Luders Park to Jim Gilliam. But the coaches that we got to meet, I remember going to Reggie Morris camp at Santa Monica YMCA.
yeah.
When I was 10, 11 years old, when Reggie Morris was city coach of the year, and learning stuff from him. And then he would send me to Summer Scope at Crenshaw, a free camp that
Oh,
Willie
you
went.
was at Summer Scope?
Oh, I went to Summer Scope every year, 5-6 years in a row.
Moose?
I mean,
Wow.
and learning from Willie West and Joe Weekly
Yep.
and Mo Duckett.
Man.
I mean, we used to, so at Summer Scope camp, I remember like it was yesterday, 4 or 5 different stations.
Yeah.
But you go in that small gym with Mo Duckett, and you knew the defense was coming for 20 minutes, and it was going to be a problem. You were going to walk out of there sweating. And what they preached, man. Joe Weekly wasn't letting you get away with anything.
Rest in
It was a
peace.
free camp, so they provided a free camp for the kids in the city, and we would all go. I mean, it was so many people that would go to that camp. But Joe Weekly, he wasn't playing around. He wasn't like placating to anybody. It was, you make a mistake, and I mean, my father plenty times came into that camp at the end of camp, and I'm sitting on the wall because I was cutting up, and Joe Weekly got me on the wall, doing wall sits for 20 minutes at a time at like 11 years old.
The thing I love the most about that era in the 90s of the coaches was the hard, tough discipline, the tough love. It was tough love. It was straight shooting. It was telling you what time it was. It wasn't pulling no punches. Nobody cared about your feelings.
No.
And so back then, to me, we were prepared for anything. Like
Anything.
we could have. So going to play for a Bobby Knight was nothing for us because we didn't play for or been around all these other cats too. I'm telling you, when I went to UCLA after playing for Coach West, and this is no knock against Coach Herrick, but my practicing, I felt like the practices at UCLA were easier. But again, you have to remember it's a higher level of player, so obviously things kind of even out. But as far as the level of difficulty, as far as the practice, and it's a college level. I mean, we used to practice 5-6 hours at Crenshaw conditioning. It was a relief to get to UCLA. But Moose, you had a very good career. You started to get recruited in high school. I want to know why you chose to go to Penn State University.
That's like when I was at. Let's take a step back.
Okay, go ahead.
To my senior year of high school. My senior year of high school, I am recruited by WCC schools.
Like who?
So, LMU and Portland and USD. So that was most of the traction I was getting when I started my senior year of high school. I ended up signing with the University of Portland. So I ended up
Who
signing.
was the coach?
So the coach, man, I don't even really know the head coach's name.
Oh, okay, no problem.
But the person that recruited me there was Michael Holton. So that was my direct
Buddy
contact.
Love. Buddy Love.
Yeah, so Michael Holton was my direct contact at Portland. And he really sold me on coming to Portland. I was really excited to go there. He told me Greg Anthony. I didn't even know. Greg Anthony was one of my favorite players. And I did not know he started out with the Portland Pilots.
Did he?
I did not know that.
And then he transferred to UNLV?
Yes.
That's
so
dope.
So he was there. He talked to me about him.
Okay.
And possibly doing the same thing if I was there and I was good enough to transfer to a next level. And then I ended up getting hurt my senior year. But while I was out, I grew 2 inches. So I went from 6 feet to 6'2".
I remember that.
And I came back a different player. I was dunking.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. You were reversing easy.
And doing some different things. So my recruiting, I was like, man, I think I'm better than this level now.
Yeah.
So that's when I decided to go to Hargrave, the prep school.
Right. Talk about
Yeah.
Hargrave. Where was that? And talk about who you guys played that year.
So Hargrave was ridiculous, man. It's a prep school, military prep school in Chatham, Virginia. It's in the middle of the woods.
Is that where they were doing that protest and stuff? That crazy
Nah,
stuff?
bro,
Oh,
that's
okay.
Charlottesville. But yeah,
Oh,
that's
okay.
yeah.
But it looked like that. Did it look like that out there a
Some
little bit?
people might have went down there, but
Okay, go
yeah,
ahead.
I definitely didn't want to be out at nighttime.
Got you.
It was one road. They got a dollar store. I mean, it was one road, and maybe the road lasted for about 2 blocks,
I'm cool.
and that's it.
Very Pullman-ish.
All it was hoop, but we played everybody, man, from North Carolina's JV to going down to Memorial Coliseum and playing Kentucky when they had Oliver, what's the dude? Cameron Mills and Najee Muhammad.
Oh yeah.
Because a lot of them dudes were on the varsity team, but they would come down to play
for runs.
Prep school. Our prep school that year, myself, Isaac Hawkins that went to Pittsburgh, Melvin Whitaker, who had an incident of his own when he was playing at Virginia, that ended up at Mount St. Mary's. But we had 11 D1 dudes on that team.
Jeez.
Ended up going like 33, 36, and 2 or something like that.
Yeah.
But it was an unbelievable experience traveling all over, playing at Virginia, at North Carolina, Fort Hill, Oak Hill. We played Oak Hill. Oak Hill came to Chatham and played us when Steve Blake and Stephen Hill and Steven Jackson were on that team.
Wow. Who won?
We did.
What? You beat him? Blast him?
We beat him.
Jeez.
It was it might have been a 20-piece, but
how much you have?
I did get a lot of pub after that game because we won beat a really good team. And Oak Hill we were a post-grad team, but they were a regular prep school.
Yeah.
And we ended up playing them, man, and it was a really fun experience. But I ended up getting a write-up after that kind of propelled me into something different recruiting-wise. I ended up getting Maryland and Ohio State and Indiana and Nebraska and USC, and just my recruiting went to a whole nother level.
For sure.
After that game, I remember it was I think it was Hoop Scoop, maybe Van Coleman wrote me up as one of the top 5 prep school players in the nation. And then, letters just started rolling in. Mm-hmm. And so ended up at Penn State. We get to Penn State. I committed. I don't know if you know, you probably know. I verbally committed to USC. So I verbally committed.
With who? Charlie Parker?
Charlie Parker.
Yeah, I remember that.
Parker was the coach. I
remember
visit.
That.
And while I was on my visit, Cam Murray, my big bro, told me that he was leaving.
Oh.
He told me he was leaving, transferring, so he ended up going to Louisville, having a heck of a career there. But Charlie Parker, when he was recruiting me, was like, yo, I'm going to give you the ball next year.
Yeah.
And to be home, I wanted to be at UCLA really bad, but they just weren't recruiting me at the time.
Who was the coach? Lav? Who was the coach?
It was Herrick at the time.
Who didn't recruit you? Lav?
Maybe it was Lav. Maybe Lav didn't look out, but but I just wasn't there. I wasn't at the level at the time.
But how not? How not at the level, Moose? If you're out of high school, you're at Maryland, Ohio State, you're at Big Ten level, but you're not at UCLA level.
UCLA is the level to me. It's different, man. UCLA is different.
But when you got to UCLA, Moose, you fit in seamlessly and should have probably played a lot more, but you still had some good games, some good runs, a good couple seasons. I felt like you were ready. I don't know.
By that time, I was for surely ready. So once I got to that, I just wasn't getting recruited by them. They already had Cam Dollar. Toby was playing a lot of point at the time, too. And maybe they just didn't have a need for me, but USC ended up offering me.
We needed you.
I committed. And then 2 months later, after I committed, Charlie Parker got fired.
And who was Henry Bibby?
Takes over the job.
Yeah. And
Henry Bibby calls me and says, Moose, I want to bring you in, but I want to bring in 2 JC point guards as well.
Great.
So I said, okay, well, obviously you don't feel the same way about me as Charlie Parker. So I'm going to open this thing back up, man.
Yeah.
And I opened it back up. Maryland was my second choice.
Why? Why'd you like Maryland so much, Moose?
I spent a lot of time in D.C. I was at school in Virginia. A lot of my cousins, probably a couple of them are on this chat, but Preston Williams was at Howard University at the time in D.C. So I took my visit to Maryland, and LaRon Prophet, Obini Kesey were my hosts.
LaRon Prophet.
And we got to spend a lot of time in the DC area. My cousins came down and hung out with us. It just felt like home. I knew people at Georgetown.
Did you go to Howard's campus? Did you go to Howard's campus?
I mean, I spent plenty of time on
You
Howard.
didn't go to Hampton? You didn't go to Hampton?
Yes.
Oh,
I went to Hampton for Boo Williams.
Oh, Jesus.
I don't know if you remember the Boo Williams. Donovan Williams took a team out there. Toby, I don't know. It was a bunch of dudes on that dang team, but I was one of the younger dudes. But we ended up playing against that Virginia team in Hampton.
Curtis Staples? Curtis
Staples, Allen Iverson, Tariq Turner, Joe Smith. The team was ridiculous.
Was Exree Hip on there?
No.
Okay.
He was a little bit older. He was at.
Oh, that's right. Cameron. Right. He was with Prospect Hall, or with Cam.
So when I went on my visit to Maryland, Exree was there. Exree's I still keep in touch with Exree, man.
I mess with Exree Hip, dude.
About a real solid dude, man. But that team was cold, man. Dwayne, Keith Booth.
Yeah.
Exree Hip.
We beat him in the Wooden Classic. Yeah, we beat him in the Wooden Classic. So talk about that Virginia team, though. I started to take you off track. Keep talking about AI. What was AI like?
AI was special. I mean, it was nothing like AI on the scene. Him and Tariq Turner doing that little flip out thing, the break and kind of fake the pass, dribble. They started that thing up. Allen Iverson was pound for pound. I got to say, he's the best basketball player I've ever seen in my life. Ridiculous. Played through contact at 160, maybe. He was probably 155 at that time.
Jeez.
Playing quarterback DB, getting in the paint at will, had a rhythm kind of jumper where he can get really going, but he can just get wherever he wanted on the court in this game. He was seeing 3 or 4 plays ahead at that time. Yeah. He was making people look like they were standing still.
Were you guarding him?
No, I was not guarding him.
Okay, let me ask you this. Were they, him or Tariq, hitting you with the DC cross, the real high, hard yank them?
And the DC cross, it's funny you bring that up, man.
Mike Powell.
Rest in peace. A guy I consider family, Kevin Hargrove, man.
Rest in peace, Kev. Rest in peace, Kev Hargrove, man.
A dude that I love dearly. I still think about every single day that I wake up. I kind of dedicated a lot of my coaching to him. But Kev Hargrove, I remember when he brought out a DC team to the Slam and Jam Invitational.
With Kevin, yes. I know.
With Mike Powell.
I know that team.
Vic Page.
We beat them. I know. I know exactly who you're talking about.
But that's when the DC crossover really got busy and came live. It was, I mean, they hang you and bring you back.
Yank them, okay? Ooh. Rest in peace, Kevin Hargrove. No doubt about it. But the DC cross, man, you just brought back a lot of just amazing memories from that time.
Yeah, Izzy Washington, too, man, with the Slam and Jam.
Rest in peace.
He was one of the first. Rich Goldberg did it big too, but Izzy, man, for the kids in the inner city and what he did for the kids in the inner city, giving them a chance to compete all over the country, and then having that tournament and bringing everybody in. I mean, you see Antoine Walker and Sean Bradley and Jason Kidd and everybody that was somebody came through the pyramid and played, or it wasn't the pyramid, it was the gold mine back then, and you played in the North and the South Gym at Long Beach State.
Wow, OG Moose.
Man, so it was Izzy Washington, man, was talk about a staple and somebody that really did something for this basketball community and kind of started something that hadn't been around. I was so lucky and fortunate to play for that man and learn from him. I remember when I was 10, 11 years old, man, and I came from ARC to him. I wasn't playing on the team as much as I thought I should be playing. And I went up and asked Izzy after one of the games why I wasn't playing. And his response to a 10 or 11-year-old was, Moose, if you were good enough to be playing, I'd be stupid not to play you. I knew that I had to get better.
Yeah, you did.
People don't keep it real like that anymore. And if you do keep it real, and
they're out.
Goes to their parent and says that, then you're going to have a meeting.
They do. An issue.
Person off the team the next day or whatever it is, and it's a problem. But he just kept it so real with me, man.
Yeah, that's a kind of what the characteristic of those old school coaches and those old school tournament operators, and those guys. It didn't matter who the kid was. It was just real all the time.
we had a coach who was a boxer named Rich for slam.
Yeah, you told me about him.
Oh my God, dude, man. And this dude, it was Corey Benjamin, me, Tony Harvey, and it was Kenny Jackson. It was a gang of dudes.
Kenny
But
Jackson.
we used to play, and we could be losing at halftime. We're losing at the end of the game. And if we're losing at halftime and this dude's making us run sprints.
Yeah.
During halftime, lines, suicides.
Yeah.
Because we weren't playing up to our potential.
I hear you.
I mean, imagine doing that to some kids right now. That's not rolling.
Well, they're sitting out because of asthma. Look, I'm not going to knock this generation. I've been outspoken about, how I felt about this generation since I've been coaching. Got back into the coaching game 6 years ago, and I felt like this generation was a certain way. But because of their response to COVID, their ability to have gone through that and still maintain their mental health for the most part.
It's still some really tough kids, and you got to know who can take it and who you can talk to like that and who can't. It's still some really tough kids and some really talented kids.
And that's the kids I like to be around. I like the coach, tough, talented, that can take the straight talk and take the, just the flat out truth.
There's some Jaime Jaquez's, there's some Peyton Watsons.
There are Peyton Watson, geez.
You can really keep it real with them.
Yeah, and they're not tripping. They're like, okay. They're just looking at you like, they just have that face.
Absolutely.
Like some kids be like, oh coach, why would you say that about my game, coach? But anyway, I'm not going to bag on these kids. These kids, I'm proud of them. I'm proud of you guys out there, the generation. I'm proud of them.
Yep.
Moose, we got about 23 minutes left. The file becomes too big if we go over. So I kind of want to go through some other things with you, especially getting to UCLA. So having gone to Penn State, playing at Happy Valley, having a solid career there, you decide to transfer to UCLA. Talk about why you transferred, and then when you got to UCLA, what was your first impressions of our program versus the dang-on Nittany Lions?
I love my time in Happy Valley. I got to meet a gang of people. My guys like Pete Lasicki and Rashawn Carlton and Calvin Booth, who's the GM of
the lefty.
Dan Earl and Greg.
Earl, geez, names, dog.
Man. And just high quality guys. And I love my time at Penn State. But coming to UCLA, I was playing with you guys all summer.
I know.
And I realized that I was on that level. And when I talked to Coach Lavin, I had a meeting towards the end of the summer with Coach Lav, and he told me he was going to give me an opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's all I could ask for. I was like, man, if I get here, I know you got dudes coming in, because Earl was coming in and Barron was coming in.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of cats but just talented dudes. But I knew I was on that level. I thought I was just as good as everybody on that team. So that was my confidence level at the time. And it was a fun ride, man. I met a lot of good friends at UCLA, got to play against a lot of great players, got to play with you, got to play with JR, who's one of my favorite players of all time.
Shout out Gino. Gino's in the chat.
Yeah, man.
But Moose, let me stay on UCLA. So one of the reasons why I hold you near and dear to my heart is because my senior year I get suspended, and it was a tumultuous time. It was embarrassing, humiliating. They leaked it to the press. We're on the front page of USA Today, as Coach Herrick used to say. Don't end up on the front page of USA Today. And we were on the front page. Embarrassing. So I kind of went into a shell. I didn't have a lot of friends. I kind of, the circle got tight. You were there for me. You were somebody that we sat in the dorm while they were in Alaska. The team had to travel, go Alaska. You were there. It was just me and you.
Yeah.
Just hanging out.
Johnny was with us.
Oh, J Mac was with us. Excuse me. But it was us three, and it was our crew.
That was the crew, man. Yeah.
That was the crew. Just talk about from the outside looking in, because I never really get this perspective from you guys as far as being adults now, and we can look back on some mistakes that were made by guys on your team that kind of let the team down. How did you view us, Jelani and I, back then?
You were I had known you guys forever. So you guys were my brothers, man, and everybody makes mistakes. So I was riding with you guys, man, through it. And I wish Jelani would have stayed that whole year, because I think we really could have done something special that year. Ended up losing in the Elite Eight to Kentucky.
Sweet 16.
Sweet 16. And if Jelani had rolled through that whole year, I think we could have really done something special. That team, and if Barron wouldn't have got hurt. But that team was crazy, man. I remember guys coming up, Jalen Rose and cats in the men's gym, like, man, if y'all don't win it this year.
Yeah.
They put that starting five out there, and it was basically a starting six, but it was Earl, Barron, Toby, Chris, JR, Jelani. Those 6 players. You put them 6 players up against anybody in the nation. They was running through pros in the men's gym. 6-0 on a day, staying on the middle court, with perennial all-stars on the floor. That crew, they were together. It was cohesion. It was ridiculous. And I just think it was a missed opportunity for everybody, man. I never got a chance. I know we won a lot of games at UCLA. You guys won a Pac-12 championship. I never got a chance to win one when I was there.
Yeah.
Won them. I think Arizona won 1 year. Stanford won 2 years.
Yeah.
But I never got a chance to win one. And I was mad I didn't win one that year because I think we could have won one. But that's besides the point. But I was rolling with y'all, man. Whatever it is, y'all my boys, man. So I was rolling with you and trying to get you through it.
You did.
I knew how hard it was. I was sitting out, and I knew I was sitting out like, man, this is tough. They're sitting out, but should be playing. So I think that's tougher.
It was bad. But thank you, Moose, for being there. So then next year, Dan, Gazuric, Matt, all these guys come in, right? Talk about that next season and just having so many talented dudes on one roster.
It's my whole time there, from Dan Gazuric to Matt Barnes, who's one of my best friends, and Ray Young, and R.I.P. Billy Knight,
R.I.P.
Travis Reed before he left, Jerome Moiso, one of the most special players. Ridiculous. And Jason Capono comes in, and T.J. Cummings, and
Jesus.
I mean, talk about loaded.
J.K. Capono.
I just knew. I knew. Talk about. If I knew I wanted to get assists, just find him coming off a pin. Automatic. It was the same thing as me at Penn State with Lasicki. It was just like,
oh my God.
If I can find Capono coming off a pin down, this is an assist. I don't even got to think about it.
Yeah.
Just chalk it up, but
yeah.
Yeah.
So you finish up at UCLA, you graduate, you have a great graduation. Talk about what your first job after college was.
In politics, man. I was hurt like my last 2 years at UCLA, and kind of the love was kind of for basketball. You know how you love Wayne's if you can't do what you want to do on the court.
Yeah.
I was playing at maybe 50% my last 2 years at UCLA. I think my best year at UCLA was my first year playing, and my last 2 years I was playing at 50%. My legs just were failing me at the time, and I ended up kind of hanging them up. I had offers to go overseas and in the ABA. I decided I didn't want to do it. And I ended up interviewing for a job in the governor's office randomly through the help of one of my friends, and got the job with Gray Davis, no political experience. And I was a lead advance for Gray Davis and traveled up and down the state of California.
Describe your job responsibilities, because lead advance.
As a lead advance, you kind of stage events before the politician or whoever you're leading for gets there. So if he's going to meet on a talk about nurses, I'm gonna stage nurses behind him, or he might be behind a hospital. So when you see a picture in the paper,
it's staged.
You can look at that picture and know what the article is going to be about before you even read the article. So that's what a lead advance. So I tell them, this congressman's here, this councilman's here, this is this person, this that person, as I'm walking up with them. And then he kind of takes it over after that, and I fade to the black.
Did your time working for the governor change your view of how politics are handled in America?
I knew I wanted to get out of it.
Why?
Yeah, it was
Why?
I mean, but it's probably just life. It's just everybody had two faces, man. It was just they talked one way and then they were a different way. And you only met a couple really solid politicians, man. And those guys were cool, but in that Capitol, man, it was just backstabbing and stuff like that within the office. And it was just not a vibe. I was used to such a team.
Yeah.
And everybody was on their own island, kind of trying to benefit themselves. And I didn't vibe with that, man. I kind of was a team dude and always been a team dude. So I didn't vibe with this department wants to not share information with this department because they want to look good
Yeah.
instead of kind of coming together, left hand
That's
up.
crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah,
That's
that's just how it is, man.
But it speaks to some of the issues that we saw during the last administration, where certain departments weren't communicating and
Yeah,
weren't sharing information. So it's a microcosm, and it happens on all levels, and it doesn't matter the political party, it seems, either, does it?
absolutely.
Okay, so we're going to move on from politics and go into why you chose to go to law school.
Law school. I chose to go to law school to because I wanted to be an agent and I wanted to be able to do my own contracts. So I always wanted to go to law school. I decided to do it. Went to University of Chapman and got my Juris Doctorate there. It was a really good experience, man. It was really cool. Got to meet some great people. My mentor, I told you, Winston McKesson. I still talk to him all the time. But just one of the most brilliant minds as far as an attorney's concerned. And I got to spend a lot of time with him. He was a big sports fan as well, but just a really great guy. I decided to go there for that, and then into coaching, man. But I love where that led me to, and that led me to Brentwood, Loyola first, then Brentwood, and I mean, I want to kind of talk about Brentwood too,
Yeah,
and my time there.
yeah. No, we're gonna. So I want to know who gave you your first shot at coaching, your first assistant job.
Jamal Adams.
Talk about it.
And I was kind of, rest in peace, man. Kenan Adams, one of my best friends, Jamal's little brother, man, who
Rest in
passed away.
peace.
And before he passed away, man, me and Kenan were really tight. It's one of my brother's best friends. He graduated with us at Loyola, and I called him and kind of sheepishly asked him, man, like, "Yo, you think your brother would allow me to coach with him?" And he looked at me like I was crazy, like,
Mhm.
"Are you kidding me?"
Like, of course.
Of course he would.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And I used to and I called Jamal. He ended up bringing me on. He said there was two kids there that he thought I could really connect with. One of them was a kid named Jordan Gathers, Hank Gathers' nephew, and another kid was a kid named Miles Cartwright, who's Parker Cartwright's older brother, but just a special talent. And those two kids kind of got me into basketball, into that coaching world, and kind of helped me develop myself and learn and grow as a coach and as a trainer and as a mentor. And if it wasn't for Jamal Adams giving me that experience and learning from him from 5 years at Loyola as an assistant coach, and then players like Miles Cartwright and Parker Cartwright and Jordan Gathers and Julian Harrell and those guys at Loyola, man, it was just Ryan Oliver. It's such a special journey there. Jacob Hazard, like kids that I got to coach and mentor there.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And then learning from a guy like Jamal Adams who does everything the right way.
Yeah.
Like he ain't out there recruiting. He's not calling no kids. Whoever comes to school to play for him is going to get coached hard for him. And that's just, it is what it is. And that's why I love him and respect him so much, because I see so much of the other side of it. For a guy like that to just so stand up, that's not going to call a kid 20 times a day and offer a kid a starting position and offer a kid this and that. He just coaches who shows up and wins with them, man, at a consistent high level.
Yeah, I mean, it's my Jamal Adams experience coaching against him was in the 2015 state playoffs, Palisades High School. We got a bid in the state, I think. So we're matched up with Loyola. We get over there, the gym, the atmosphere, the student section, you feel the energy. It's hot in there. It's just like, yo, what's about to happen? Then the jump ball happens, and what you go through against the Jamal Adams coach team is something that you wake up in the middle of the night and you have nightmares about, because you look up and you're down 30 in the first, and you're just like, how? I thought we game planned. Coach, what the Jamal Adams, truly one of the best coaches out there doing it. So when did you get the call that you were going to be the head coach at Brentwood High School?
So I got the call when I was coaching at Loyola, and I got lucky, man, because a guy named Tony Bergeron was coaching. I think he's an assistant coach at maybe UMass right now.
Okay.
He came from maybe Massachusetts to Brentwood and was coaching for maybe 2 months. One day he just was gone. Just left, I think, over a weekend. Decided he had to get back to his family, and I'm thankful for him because it was September, October, somewhere like that, where I was interviewing for a high school coaching position. The school year had already started, and I ended up getting a Brentwood job.
What year?
Oh, it's been 10 years now. So
No,
2010, man.
so the summer, it was the August of 2010. So it wasn't when we were in New York. Did you already have the job when we
No,
were with?
so that's when I came back and went out on a limb, man. And 2 weeks later, after I got back with coaching with Jamal for 2 weeks after we left there, or I left there, and then luckily got offered this job. It was like things came together for me. Like I didn't know I was going to have that opportunity. I thought I was going to be coaching as an assistant again for Loyola.
Right.
The next
Right.
thing you know, Brentwood opens up, and it's been 10 years of kind of magic since then.
Talk about your Brentwood experience, some of the early pillars. We obviously, to your program, we obviously played against each other. A lot of people don't know this. You guys beat us in the Beverly Hills tournament by 1 point.
Yes.
That I really hate thinking about because I prepared a lot, and I hate losing to people that I used to beat in one-on-one that never could beat me in one-on-one. I hate losing to them. Talk about some of the early pillars of your programs, the guys that really got you going.
Guys, when I first came in there, were Leland King, who ended up being an all Big West player for Santa Barbara, averaging a double-double.
Yep.
And then Trey Holder, who ended up scoring over 2,000 points.
Trey Holder, Arizona State.
Just unbelievable. But then there was a lot of surrounding pieces from Ante Campbell, who played at UTEP and Fresno State, and Maxwell Kupchak, who ended up playing at Santa Barbara, and right. Austin Lee, Arthur Lee's little brother, who ended up playing at played in Northern Arizona, and then a kid named Jonathan Napoleon, who ended up playing at E3 school in New Jersey and playing overseas some. So nice. I had a lot of really, really good players, man. I remember my first practice at Brentwood. I'm getting the guys together, and Mitch Kupchak is sitting in a chair in a corner of the gym with a notebook. Yeah. And I was, man, talk about being shook.
I mean, what does that feel like, Moose? Honestly.
I was nervous, but I was confident in myself because of what I've been through with Jamal. But it was nerve-wracking to see him there. But in the 4 years that I had Maxwell, because I had him as a freshman, in the 4 years that I had him, every conversation I had with Mitch Kupchak, and I could call him right now to talk to him, every conversation that I had to him, he never asked me about playing time. He never asked me about what I should do for Maxwell. I put Maxwell was kind of a swing player who played JV varsity his freshman year. Yeah. He never was like, he needs to be doing this. He needs to be handling the ball here. He had complete trust in me from day one and supported me, was at every Maxwell game, sitting up in the corner by himself. But just an unbelievable dude that really had my back the whole time through, man. And to have somebody like that support you and to kind of vouch for you, and that's a big boost of confidence for me, man.
Describe that moment. I think it was when Braley hit the game winner. Was that 17 in the championship?
17. That was the first one.
Talk about that. Just that season.
Special season, man. That was Braley's sophomore year. We had a bad season the year before. We were coming off of Trey Holder, and then we had a really bad season. Ante, all those guys, Maxwell, kids like Sam Gaynor, who we went like 28-2 or 28-3 one season. And then the next season, we ended up going like 15-14 or 14-15. That next season, Braley's a sophomore. Braley, J.R. Olafson, Scotty Polson, and Charlie Wadler. Clairman. These kids, I mean, came together, but they're kids that grew up playing with each other. And just a special, special group of kids that the cohesion on that group was something that you can't artificially come up with. I don't care if you're getting players here, the best player here, the best player there. We would go into places and you see my team line up against somebody else, and they're like, if you go into the betting parlor, you betting on the other team every single time. And my team's coming out winning because of the cohesion, but these guys were special. I think that year Sam and Charlie ended up both having over 100 3-pointers in that season.
Sam Clairman?
Braley ended up being state player of the year for Division III.
Beast.
But just the unbelievable. He's at Vanderbilt now playing. Charlie's be the next GM of some kind of franchise. Talk about an unbelievable basketball mind, man. This dude is a savant.
I like the time I spent around your program during that era. I, just interacting with those kids, Brady, Charlie, Sam, a bunch of the other kids. It just, you can tell that they were getting coached up the right way. You can tell that the tutelage that they were under, that it affected their swag as basketball players. And so you guys.
I think, but it's cool to play like in a league where you play against teams like Sierra Canyon and Windward and Viewpoint, Campbell Hall, who had the Holiday Brother. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're playing against teams like that. It's just every single night. When I first got to Brentwood, it was Pacific Hills in our league, and they had Jamel Taylor and Marcus Jackson and Naaman Wright and Jason Kidd Jr., and it was just loaded, man. But, like, to play against a team like a Sierra Canyon.
Yeah, talk about that experience. Most I did a bunch of their games last year or two, whenever we had the season 2019, right? Was the last time. What was it like?
So how I think it's really cool, man. I think it's a really, really cool experience. I think Brentwood, I think we opened up. So we played the inaugural game in their new gym. When they first did it, new gym, it was like Daryl Ramsey and Cody Riley and Derek Thornton and that group.
Jeez,
and we got to win.
Thornton.
And I think that's.
Oh, y'all beat them? Y'all beat them?
I beat them on opening night and been chasing the win against them ever since.
Well, they stacked their team. They loaded up just for you.
But talk about a special group. Just imagine to play against the Sierra Canyon. Just imagine having an Oak Hill or Mount Verde Academy or La Lumiere playing in a local high school league. So a team where you get to play, where kids that play for me will play against 5 kids from 5 different states, maybe 2 different countries, and nobody maybe from California on the roster. That's like playing against that's like playing against a La Lumiere.
Wait, Moose, this is crazy. This is crazy how you're positioning this. So you're saying that Sierra Canyon is like a prep school because of
no, I'm saying the talent that they have.
Oh yeah, they're pretty good.
It's like an experience for my kids they can talk about for the rest of their lives. Playing against a Marvin Bagley and nowadays Amari Bailey and a Brandon Boston and a Dwayne Washington who's killing at Ohio.
Crazy. Remy.
Daryl Ramsey and Cody Riley who's in the Sweet 16. And these units, man, that they put out are just special groups. And I know a lot of these kids and like a lot of these kids, but to play against that in a local high school league and my kids get that experience, I mean, that's something that they could tell their grandkids about. And I think that's pretty cool, man. From my standpoint, I think it's really cool, man. A couple guys on the staff that I really like at Sierra Canyon. Shout out Ed, man. Just a really good dude.
Estevan.
Yeah, man, just a really good dude. But I really I work with a lot of those players. So I work with Daryl and Cody would come work out at Brentwood in the spring and in the summer. And then we play them in the fall, and then end up taking L's versus them and dapping them up afterwards. But
hey, that's not the worst thing in the world.
It's a cool experience, man. I think so. It's really cool for me as a coach to get to play against a team like that. Like I never got to coach against an Oak Hill or Mount Verde.
Sure.
I would love to coach against teams like that because just to match wits with the best and try to, hey, man, I might not have the talent level, but I'm going to try to play you. I don't care who it is, the Lakers, the Clippers. If I go into a game coaching against you, I'm going to try to win. I'm going to try to game plan. I might not win, but my game plan is to win. So I think it's just a special experience, just a fun experience.
Yeah. Moose, let's back up to the first time. We have a few more minutes. Craig Albert is on my head about you reliving Braley's game winner. Look, when I saw that, I went nuts. When I heard about it, I mean, it was like one of the most viral moments of that year. Just relive that moment. Relive the last 30 seconds.
Braley was one of the most selfless players I ever got to coach. You almost had to force Bailey to shoot the ball. And he was special when he did it. But it was a late game situation, overtime. One of our players that fouled out. The momentum was completely the other way. We had just missed an opportunity for a layup to win the game. They come down. Fortunately, they missed a free throw. I get the ball, cross half court. I call a timeout, and I said, Brayley, you're taking a shot. We're getting the ball into you, and you are going to win this game for us. And Brayley just nodded his head, catches, pump fake, step through, cash. You could see on the, I mean, it was like 0.4 of a second left when he makes this shot.
Had you ever worked on that move with him?
And this might be just the celebration right here.
Oh, go to it. Go to it. Close up, Moose.
That's the celebration.
Yo, look at that,
Brayley
y'all.
in the middle.
KJ Live. This is Chris Johnson. That is the 2017 CIF championship game. Was that the first championship in the history of Brentwood School for the CIF?
No, second championship in the history. I think they won in 1991.
Okay.
Was the only time they went to the championship. And since then, since I've been here for 10 years, I've been to 3 and won 2 out of 3.
That's awesome. Talk about how you felt when you received that recognition from Cal High Sports as the 2018 Division II State Coach of the Year. I know I was proud. How did you feel, buddy?
I mean, as a kid that grew up cherishing Cal High like it was a sports almanac, like talk about me. I used to go with my dad and my dad would come home with magazines, Street and Smith, this and that, and I knew every player and could name every player from every single team across the nation. And looking through Cal High, and I could tell you this, I could tell you stats. Like I was just that dude that was just immersed in the game, and to get recognized by a magazine like that and people that I respect, it was really, really cool, man. And honor. And I thank Brentwood for putting me in that position to win such an award. And I thank my players and my players' parents for allowing them and trusting me on this journey. Because if you don't have that buy-in from the parents and the coaches, full trust, and you got kids going home and they're getting a completely different message, it was the trust of the parents and the coaches, and then obviously the support from the administration. But it takes a lot to make a championship team if you don't have just NBA talent players.
Yeah, sure.
It takes a lot to come together, and they all came together for me, man. Shout out Brayley, though, for that game winner.
Yeah, and the assistant coaches on your crew?
The assistant coaches are special, man. Corn Holden, one of the best basketball minds I knew. I met him at Summer Scope. He was my counselor at Crenshaw Camp.
Wow.
So I met him.
That's a trip. Okay.
He was a guy that I spent my first 5 years at Brentwood. I think he was one of the first calls I made.
Yep.
And then every year in the summer, after the season was over, Corn, you want to come? Corn, you want to come? Corn, you want to come? And I finally, after he was so loyal to some of the players that he worked with at when he was at Chaminade, I finally got him to come to Brentwood. Okay. And the thing that I've learned from him, I think have expanded me as a coach. But talk about his creativity and mind, defensively and offensively, and the creativity factor that he brings to a game has allowed me to look at a game in such a colored lens.
Yeah.
He is special. He should be a head coach, no doubt about it. Cornelius Holden should be a head coach.
Props to Cornelius Holden.
Is a beast.
He's the man.
Knows game plan, system, defensive schemes. I mean, I think I'm a good coach. But having Corn with me, having guys like Michael Bartman, who are just defensive detail. He's the defensive guy, and any mistake defensively.
He's a hard ass. Bartman's a hard ass.
Man, he's gonna let you know. Absolutely. Ivan Garner. Spent so many years with Katani at Fairfax. Principals. I've had guys like Ryan Walcott coaching with me.
Walcott?
Yes. Danny Walker.
D. Walker coach with you?
D. Walker coaching me my first 2 years at Brentwood.
Wow, I didn't even realize that, bro.
Yep, I love D. Walk, man.
One of the best doing it.
Probably on this thing, Woody Lou, who was one of our managers at he was a player at Loyola. They ended up being like an assistant coach / manager for our team the last year, his senior year. But like basically a coach as a senior at Loyola High School. He ended up coming to me when he was going to school at LMU and still coaching with me at Brentwood. And talk about just special young men. He ended up going to coach with at St. John Bosco with Coach Dunn, and now he's in Seattle I believe, coaching. But just I had
Okay.
have a special group of coaches, man, that helped
Absolutely.
me out, man. Special group.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Couple more questions, Moose. Then
Yeah, yeah.
I gotta let you go. Is your season ramping back up this year?
We're ramping up, man. I haven't seen my gym since last March.
Wow.
I mean, I've seen it from my office. I overlook it so I can see it, but I haven't been in there. Haven't touched that hardwood. Hopefully, they're gonna let us in there within the next week or so. We've been practicing kind of outdoors, doing conditioning and stuff like that. And I have games set up, game scheduled for the second week of April. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we get in about 15 or 16 games this season. I don't know whether playoffs is gonna happen or not, but I hope so. But the
Talk
kids,
about
especially our seniors, man, our seniors deserve it.
Yeah, they do. But talk about how a high level high school basketball coach like yourself was able to keep his team together, bonded, connected during the age of COVID.
A lot of Zoom, a lot of Zoom workouts, a lot of Zoom conversations. I think I could have been more creative, um, yeah, keeping cohesion, but I think we did a good job. Things get stale when you do Zoom over and over and over and over. But we did a lot of things to help kind of bring cohesion together, it's a testament to my seniors, man. Thomas Oosterbrook and Zach Mellon and Cameron McDonald and Justin Patterson
Cam,
guys have really brought everybody together, from freshmen to seniors, and kind of brought us together and kind of held us. Talk about holding the line, man. They really have done that, and I kind of give it to my seniors more than myself for keeping us together.
well, you have raised the seniors right. You've mentored them the right way, and they're a reflection of their head coach. Finally, Moose, I want you to talk about just being part of basketball royalty. The Baileys are basketball royalty out here, actually around the country. LA has a lot of royal basketball families, multi generations. Talk about how special that is to you and how it is to the game of basketball.
Yeah, Roro. Shout out Coach Close, man. Go kill it, Lady Bruins. But
Yes,
man, to be part of, uh, I guess, man, I don't at being in it, man. I just know that's my pops, OG Bailey, who's a staple. Got to shout out my pops, but and
yeah,
Toby. But being around guys like you and the Johnson family and the Murray family and the O'Quinns and the Benjamins and guys like that, what we grew up with and got to play against, and it was a lot of the O'Bannons. It
the
was
Cottons.
the Cottons. Like we spent a lot of time with these dudes, man, and in gym from one gym to the next, and we're all in these gyms, sweaty gyms from 10 a.m. in the morning or 8 a.m. in the morning till 9 o'clock at night, and I'll see you the next day. And it's just cool to be a part of the legacy and the tradition of such a rich tradition of LA high school basketball and grassroots basketball. I'm just blessed, man, to know all
Yeah,
these people, from people from the top of Malibu to the middle of the inner city, man. It's just, I know so many people and got love for so many people from this game of basketball, and they got love for me too. I just, I really, really think basketball is I mean, it's my life, but it's changed my life in so many ways. The opportunities and the things and the lessons that I've learned from it, being around you guys, it's really, really cool, man. And I appreciate you saying that. But I don't really see myself as that. But I appreciate you saying that, man. And I think my brother and the legacy that he left, is special, and it's really cool to try to live up to that and get to see that journey up close and personal.
yeah. Well,
Really cool, man.
I have okay. I'm gonna say my last thing, and then we're gonna end this glorious interview that we've been on for over an hour. I can talk to you all night.
Me too, brother.
So, first of all, you are basketball royalty. Second of all, a lot of people don't realize just the type of friend that Ryan Moose Bailey is. He's probably one of the guys that you can call a true friend that'll tell you when you're screwing up, that'll tell you the real, that won't mess with you when you are doing too much.
Yeah.
And you can feed off his energy and know, and basically you just don't want to get, the last thing in the world you don't want to do is like not have Moose kind of acting weird towards you, because you feel empty. You feel alone out there in the world. It's like your friend, your real dog is not messing with your guy. But Moose, you've as I mentioned, the suspension and being there for me, and then 2011, I was in a really dark place, not doing well, and you had hit me up about
Yeah.
going to Matt's camp
Oh yeah.
and being the co-director of Matt's camp up at Redwood City
Yep.
campus of EA Sports. And I have to tell you, Moose, I'm gonna tell you here on my show, that changed my life. The above board you changed my life. You changed the trajectory of everything. And I won't get all into it, but I just want you to know that, bro, and I appreciate you for that. I love you. I love your family. I love everything that you stand for, and the coach, the man, the mentor that you have grown into. It's
Man,
no surprise. It's no surprise. You guys are the
so much love for you, but so much respect for you as a basketball player, because you was on the lines of me. We could dunk, but we wasn't dunking on you like that. But we would find a way to get with it, footwork and IQ, and we thought the game at a different level. But you're one of them dudes who could score in the phone booth. I always say, put KJ in a phone booth and he finds enough room to score space. But I knew I wanted to bring you there with me. I ran Matt Barnes camp for maybe 10 years in a row, and we did it at the EA Sports facility. And I brought Chris up there with me and talk about bringing the camp to another level, but bringing the fun of the experience to another level, man. I appreciate you for accepting that invitation.
Thank you for that, Moose.
That was talk about memories.
That set off a summer that was
Thank
just
you, Matt Barnes.
legendary. Yeah, and then after that, I was in New York, and I got like this job. I worked for this software company for 7 years. I mean, you kicked it off, though, Moose, and it was your energy that I plugged into, and I'm back on that now. And KJ Live, the essence of KJ Live is kind of plugged back into that energy, that above board energy.
KJ Live is so dope, man, and the information that you bring, the realness that you bring, but keep it light and funny, and what you can bring out of people and get people to talk about, that most people just don't have that connection to bring that out, and people are so guarded when they go on shows like this. And to me, I'm not guarded at all, because you're my dude, and I knew you won't steer me in a direction that'll cause harm to me or my family. But what we talk about and what you bring is, I mean, killer, dude. And I told you, I've been seeing this in you for so many years. And I remember the first live that you did, and I jumped on, and then I called Matt and called all the boys and was like, on, and you ended up being there with Matt live and doing a little segment.
Thank you.
I think
Thank you.
I just knew right when I saw you doing it, I knew it was something special. So I had to get it to where more than me can see it.
I appreciate you.
5, 6, and I was like, yo, the
I
world
knew it.
needs to see this.
I knew it. When Matt jumped on, I knew it was you.
No, that the world needs to see this, dude.
I knew it was Moose. When Matt, I was like, this is probably Moose's work. Listen, Moose, I got to let you go, man. Hey, great conversation today. I hope we can do it again. Man.
I love you, brother.
I love you too, man. Ladies and gentlemen, Ryan Moose Bailey. Thank you, my man.